Nobody was meant to hear this, but once it leaked, there was no going back. For years, this story was buried under silence, fear, and meticulously controlled narratives. People glanced at headlines, believed what they were fed, and moved on. But what if every assumption you made was staged? What if the truth was deliberately hidden because it was too explosive to see the light of day? Late one night, a single detail slipped out, just one, and everything changed. Those closest went silent. Calls stopped being returned. Statements grew vague. Confident voices started contradicting themselves. That's usually your first red flag that something is seriously wrong. This wasn't a mistake or coincidence. Names you know, reputations built over years, all threatened by a single decision behind closed doors that no one expected would trigger chaos. What happened next was never meant for public eyes, but, of course, it did. And once you piece it together, you understand why questions went unanswered and why some people are praying this story disappears before the full truth comes out. For a long time, life looked perfectly normal on the surface. Too normal. The kind of normal that feels rehearsed, polished, and suspiciously flawless. Every smile, every public appearance, every word chosen carefully to project control. Because the cracks were already forming beneath the calm facade, unnoticed by most but glaringly obvious to anyone paying attention. And flawlessly staged, of course. Interviews oozed confidence, public appearances screamed control, smiles hit their marks like clockwork, and every word was painstakingly chosen. Most people nodded along without questioning a thing, which, of course, is exactly how a story like this survives for years. Beneath that polished surface, though, cracks were forming. The observant noticed first, subtle shifts in behavior, sudden silences replacing once confident voices. Those who used to speak freely now dodged questions. The energy changed, but no one dared name the reason. Real danger doesn't announce itself with a bang, it seeps in, quietly, patiently. The story didn't start with chaos, it started with trust. Private conversations, closed-door decisions, promises never meant to face pressure, all seemed under control. Everyone thought they held the narrative, that they were untouchable. But that illusion shattered. At some point, a line was crossed, not loudly, not publicly, but with intent. One calculated move silently rewrote everything that followed, and once it happened, there was no undoing the fallout. The unsettling truth? What makes this situation unsettling is not only what occurred, but how long it stayed concealed. How many individuals knew fragments of the truth and chose silence? How many warning signs were dismissed because acknowledging them would have shattered reputations, careers, and carefully constructed images? This was not confusion. This was defense. The background is packed with contradictions, statements that no longer align with timelines, stories that change depending on who is talking. One version for the audience, another for insiders, and somewhere between them, the truth sits awkwardly waiting to surface. There were efforts to manage the damage early on. Quiet discussions, calculated appearances, even emotional displays designed to redirect focus. And for a time it worked. The audience remained distracted. The questions remained unanswered, but pressure never vanishes. It grows. The more silence lingered, the louder the rumors became. People started connecting dots that were never meant to connect. Screenshots reappeared. Old clips suddenly felt questionable. Moments that once looked harmless now seemed intentional. That is when panic begins. Because once people start asking the right questions, the story no longer belongs to those who shaped it. It belongs to whoever exposes it first. The background of the story is not only about one incident. It is about a pattern, a repeated habit of dodging accountability, reshaping narratives, and hoping time will erase consequences. But time does the reverse. It sharpens memory. It highlights inconsistencies. There were insiders who tried to warn others quietly, cautiously. Some were ignored. Others were labeled bitter or irrelevant. That is a familiar tactic. Discredit the messenger so the message never reaches the surface. Still, the cracks expanded. The most disturbing part is how close the truth came to being erased entirely. Had one person stayed quiet, had one detail never leaked, this story would have been rewritten forever. History would have been edited in favor of those with power. But silence shattered. And when it did, the chaos forced everyone to rethink what they thought they knew, who was honest, who was manipulating, and who was quietly benefiting from all the confusion. Suddenly, the background became impossible to ignore. This wasn't a story that appeared overnight. It was meticulously built through calculated moves and deliberate omissions. Every attempt to hide it only made the eventual exposure more explosive. Looking back, the warning signs seem obvious, but at the time they were ignored on purpose. Admitting them would have meant confessing that the image shown to the world was never real. And this is just the beginning, because once you understand the background, what comes next is far darker. The decisions, the fallout, and consequences no one was ready for. The truth that some are still desperately trying to bury only adds to the tension. According to insiders, the first confrontation happened behind closed doors in a room where voices were low but intentions were sharp. What started as a tense discussion quickly spiraled into something much darker. Accusations that had been buried for years were finally spoken aloud, and once out, they couldn't be taken back. This wasn't an emotional outburst, it was calculated. One side walked in knowing the outcome, armed with evidence, recordings, and exact dates and times. The other didn't realize the trap until it was already snapping shut. Panic set in instantly. Confidence turned into visible fear. Attempts to downplay, joke, or redirect the conversation failed completely, leaving everyone scrambling as the situation spiraled out of control. Because the person holding the power was done playing nice. Peace was no longer the goal, consequences were. And that's exactly where the real war began. The most dangerous detail didn't explode right away. At first, it appeared as a hint, a throwaway line, something that sounded harmless unless you understood what it really meant. Then came the confirmation. Not gossip. Not screenshots. Actual audio. Real voices. Clear. Undeniable. The room allegedly went dead silent. That was the moment everything crossed the line of no return. The recording exposed conversations that directly clashed with public statements, private intentions that never matched the public image, and worse, it dragged in someone who was never supposed to be involved at this level. That single detail flipped the entire story on its head. From there, everything unraveled fast. Within hours, sensitive information began leaking to people who were never meant to see it. Lawyers were called. Phones went dark. Emergency meetings were rushed into place, not to fix anything, but to contain the fallout. That plan failed instantly, because once audio exists, control is already gone. Insiders say the recording proved intent. No confusion, no manipulation, just deliberate action. And intent comes with consequences apologies can't erase. This was no longer a private disagreement. It became a legal nightmare and a reputational collapse waiting to detonate. The first real twist wasn't outrage or denial, it was silence. No statements. No defenses. Just a chilling pause that said far more than words ever could. No immediate response, no clarification, no effort to defend, just an unsettling pause that somehow made everything feel even worse. Silence in moments like this doesn't scream innocence, it screams damage control. Social media clocked it instantly. Appearances were suddenly cancelled. Interviews quietly vanished. Comment sections were locked down. The digital footprint started shrinking fast, only pouring gasoline on the suspicion. Fans demanded answers and got none. Critics began publicly connecting dots. Then came the second jolt. A source close to the situation revealed the audio wasn't the only thing being kept under wraps. There were multiple recordings, multiple conversations, each more damaging than the last. And suddenly, there was no agreement on whether they should stay hidden. That's when lines were drawn. What made it even more unsettling was what was at stake. Careers built over decades, images carefully crafted to project power and authority, all dangling by a thread because of one decision that was never meant to see daylight. The first real shock hit when it emerged that law enforcement had already been informed. Quietly. No announcements. No press conferences. The wheels had been turning long before the public realized anything was wrong, instantly changing the tone of everything. This was no longer gossip. This was escalation, and everyone involved knew it. Attempts followed to shift blame, suggest misunderstandings, and whisper that context was missing. But context doesn't erase recorded words, it makes them louder. Every explanation only spawned more questions. The most chilling part is how close this came to being buried forever. If one person had chosen loyalty over truth, none of this would have surfaced. The conflict would have stayed hidden, shielded by silence and power. But loyalty cracked. And when it did, it exposed a version of events no one was ready to face. By the end of that day, nothing was stable. Trust had vanished. Alliances shattered. And the person who once thought they were untouchable realized too late that control had already slipped away. Once evidence exists, a story stops belonging to those involved. What was coming next made the first twist look like child's play. Panic turned into full-blown chaos. Within 48 hours, the private conflict became public. Screenshots that insiders swore would never leave encrypted devices started circulating. Audio timestamps were dissected. Online sleuths claimed they could hear hidden fear, and suddenly, nothing remained private or safe. Then came the real bomb, a second audio clip. Shorter, clearer, and far more dangerous than the first. Unlike the initial recording, this one was calm, strategic, almost rehearsed. The voice laid out actions, consequences, and outcomes like a plan already set in stone. No hesitation, no confusion, just pure intent. This wasn't a slip-up caught on tape. This was awareness, and insiders immediately confirmed it validated what many had feared for years. The stakes had just skyrocketed, and everyone watching knew the fallout was only beginning. For years, many had feared this. Certain decisions weren't impulsive reactions, they were calculated moves executed behind closed doors. And the scariest part wasn't even what was said, but how casually it was delivered, as if the fallout on others was already written off as collateral damage. Social media blew up instantly. Overnight, fake legal experts appeared, dissecting language and spinning implications that sent shockwaves through fan communities. Hashtags trended within minutes. Comment sections turned toxic. Supporters clashed desperately with critics, while skeptics highlighted inconsistencies that could no longer be ignored. Then came the reveal no one was ready for. A leaked internal report confirmed the audio had been reviewed weeks earlier, not days. The public reaction was already behind. Consequences were in motion before anyone online even realized there was a scandal. Suddenly, staged appearances, calculated statements, and perfectly timed smiles all felt like lies. Fans felt duped, betrayed by both actions and the illusion of honesty. Industry insiders quietly distanced themselves. Projects were paused, meetings cancelled, invitations withdrawn. No one wanted to be caught when the full truth finally hit. The most chilling moment? A source claimed there was a third recording, still unreleased, allegedly tying everything together and explaining why initial silence was enforced. That audio, insiders said, is what had legal teams scrambling and statements being rewritten repeatedly. If it ever leaks, the entire narrative would collapse. And now the burning question isn't whether the truth will surface, it's who will drop it first and whether anyone survives the fallout. Once the scandal went public, social media erupted like a powder keg. Fans, critics, and celebrities all jumped in, turning the drama into a full-blown digital war zone. Hashtags blew up across every platform. #SimoneGate, #Justice4Dr Simone, and #ICleExposed were trending worldwide within hours. The internet split into two fiery camps, each more aggressive than the last. Supporters of Dr. Simone painted her as a brave woman finally standing up to a spoiled, ungrateful son whose reckless actions threatened the family legacy. Enough is enough, they screamed, flooding comment sections with empathy and calls for accountability. But then the backlash hit. Michael's defenders fired back, accusing Dr. Simone of being cold, out of touch, and destroying family unity over money. Is this what privilege breeds? They asked, igniting even more controversy. Some claimed this was a calculated smear campaign meant to ruin Michael's reputation. The celebrity world couldn't stay silent. High-profile stars and influencers jumped in, taking sides and stoking the fire with dramatic statements. Some demanded Michael's public apology, while others framed Dr. Simone's actions as modern parental abandonment. Media outlets pounced, blasting headlines about toxic dysfunction and reckless privilege. TV pundits dissected every leaked message and audio clip with sensational theories. Opinion pieces flooded the internet, some condemning the family, others sympathizing, all fueling the public appetite for drama. Even brands and sponsors connected to the family started feeling pressure. Rumors of cancelled deals and postponed projects sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. The scandal wasn't just a family drama anymore. It became a public crisis threatening reputations and livelihoods. Behind the scenes, secret meetings, legal threats, and narrative control attempts only added fuel. Leaked emails revealed deep divides between family members and teams, exposing cracks that might never heal. Public fascination intensified with every new twist. Every post, every comment, every reaction was dissected under a microscope. What was once a private battle had morphed into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Everyone felt compelled to watch, judge, and debate. Amid the chaos, one thing became painfully clear. This was no ordinary family drama. This was a high-stakes saga of power, betrayal, and survival playing out on the global stage. As the online storm raged, everyone whispered the same question: who will break first? Just when it seemed this saga couldn't get any darker, a jaw-dropping revelation shook the entertainment world. Sources close to the family leaked explosive new information. Michael wasn't acting alone. Behind the scenes, a shadowy figure had been pulling strings, manipulating him, and orchestrating much of the chaos that tore the family apart. Who is this mysterious puppet master? And what was their ultimate motive? Whispers suggest a long-hidden betrayal, a trusted family friend turned traitor, feeding Michael false promises of freedom and luxury in exchange for total control of the family empire. But that's not all. The leaked court audio, initially seeming like Michael's downfall, concealed a secret conversation revealing threats, blackmail, and shocking demands from this third party. The tension in those recordings is nearly suffocating, proof this story is far darker and more calculated than anyone imagined. Meanwhile, Dr. Simone's past came under scrutiny. Rumors of long-buried family secrets, financial mismanagement, and personal betrayals are resurfacing, raising the question: was her perfect image just a carefully crafted facade? Social media erupted. Fans who once rallied behind Dr. Simone are now divided, questioning everything they believed. The narrative is fracturing with every new leak, each more shocking than the last. Industry insiders are watching closely, knowing the next revelation could change everything. Whispers are swirling about a potential third-party scandal that could drag major Hollywood figures, and beyond, into the chaos. Names that, if revealed, would send shockwaves far past this family alone. And just as the public reels, another bombshell drops. Michael has vanished from all public view. No interviews. No social media. No legal statements. Speculation runs wild. Is he hiding? Planning a comeback? Or is something far darker at play? The most chilling part? The family's private lawyer issued a cryptic statement hinting at unforeseen consequences and irreversible decisions that could reshape everything. What does this mean for Dr. Simone, Cecil, and Michael? Is this the calm before the storm, or is the worst still to come? One thing is crystal clear: the story is far from over. Stakes have never been higher, secrets never darker, and fallout never more devastating. So, what happens next? Will this family find a way to heal, or are they doomed to be torn apart forever? Who is the true villain behind all this chaos? Keep your eyes and ears open. The next chapter promises to shatter everything you thought you knew. Now it's your turn. Was Dr. Simone justified in standing her ground, or did she wait too long and let things spiral out of control? Is Michael truly a victim of manipulation, or just entitled and reckless? And that mysterious third party, who are they, and what's their endgame? Drop your thoughts and wildest theories in the comments. The juicier, the better. This story isn't over, and your opinions could ignite the next major debate. If you're shocked, smash that like button so more people witness this unfolding drama. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss the next update. The twists are only getting started, and our next episode will dig even deeper with exclusive leaks and interviews you won't find anywhere else. Buckle up and stay tuned. In celebrity drama, nothing is ever as it seems, and every secret comes with a price. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.